Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Noel with Ecommerce Disruptors. Today we've got Anil on the show. Going to be chatting about, you guessed it, Mailchimp and Klaviyo. Figured it'd be good to have this discussion, especially we've got a snowstorm coming up. I don't know if you've prepped, Anil.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go buy groceries and toilet paper or whatever it is you need, um, and get ready for that. But I know we're supposed to be getting hit with like a ton of snow, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not like the standard mail system. Email can get delivered no matter what weather, right? Look at that. Look at that segue.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then it's no, and it's perfect because what are you going to do when you're snowed in? You're going to be doing some online shopping, that's for sure.
yeah, totally, totally. Nah, I gotta get it prepped. I'll go to the store after we're finished recording this. All right, we'll get it all set up. But all right, cool. Yeah, let's jump right into it, man. People
Yeah.
want to hear
So,
about this.
and the thing is, when you're looking at these platforms, really, you're kind of thinking about your just overall marketing strategy, right? We know that people are really looking for brands that are going to personalize that experience. 91% of consumers, some crazy number, like just crazy high number, would prefer brands that personalize, and you got to take that into consideration. So whether you have your store set up, whether you're entry level or you're kind of just getting started, ramping up, you're more on that enterprise side, you really want to think about that overall plan. And before you even think about a platform or a program that you want to pick, Klaviyo, Mailchimp, you really want to think about what platform you're on for your e-commerce store, right?
Yeah, totally. And it really comes back to let that be sort of the defining factor of where you want to go. Make sure you pick an e-commerce solution that works for you and that sort of serves your purpose, because again, that's your store, right? And then you work your way into the mailing service. um,
Right.
you probably have one to begin with. Like most people start off with Mailchimp and they have that, and then they know, okay, do I want to move to Klaviyo or do I want to stick with Mailchimp? So but to some degree, having whatever e-commerce platform you have will sort of help to determine, or maybe may sway one way of which platform or which mailing program you choose.
Right.
um, so
And
I guess like the one example is clearly Shopify, right? We're Shopify partners. We work with Shopify a lot. It's one of our favorite platforms. So if you have Shopify, we'll get into this in a second, but Mailchimp and Klaviyo, they have this heated debate or battle going on, right? And also with Shopify. So Mailchimp pulled out of having an integration to Shopify. They have integration with everybody else. They don't have a direct integration to Shopify. Klaviyo, on the other hand, integrates seamlessly with Shopify. So that already is like one determining factor. Not that you can't connect things, but there is a workaround which you'll have to use ShopSync, which is another free app, but it sort of is like that connector that connects you to Shopify to make it a little more seamless. Again, not a very seamless integration, but it makes it a bit smoother. So
yeah,
things like that,
it's
things you pay attention for.
absolutely. And that rivalry is, kind of like Windows or PC and Mac. It's you compare it to that, and like you said, there's a ton of platforms that you could be on right now. A lot of people do have Shopify. That's got a great opportunity for you to jump in. There's templates. BigCommerce is another one that's pretty popular. Or if you're on WordPress, WooCommerce,
Yep.
like you were saying, Anil, once you begin to ramp up, Shopify does offer plans for even larger companies, Shopify Advanced, especially once you're really making millions on your store and ramping up those products, or even as you start to go more enterprise, cloud commerce, Magento, what have you.
Yeah,
It's
of course.
it's
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you're thinking about your platform, what you're on, and then what's going to be the best fit
Yeah,
for you.
totally.
So, and like you said, Anil, actually, Shopify and Mailchimp don't play so well anymore. They used to,
Yeah.
but that's just kind of, and you can always set up that connection. That's where Klaviyo kind of has ease of use there. It's got to do, that integration. That's going to make it nice and easy for you.
Yeah, so a little spoiler alert, right? That's one side. Let's say Klaviyo takes the cake on that one. That's a little simpler to integrate, but either way, they'll all still work. So no matter what your platform is, both of these will still work. They just sometimes, I guess, one might lean to one side better than the other, depending on what you go with. So um, maybe, I mean, honestly, if you want to talk about the rivalry just a little bit, like, so they hold no grudges really. Like on the Klaviyo site, if you just go to the Klaviyo site, they have pages where they compare them against their competitors. Literally, it says their site is straight up: Mailchimp is for sending email, Klaviyo makes you money. You know who they're talking? They're talking
Amen.
about the bottom. Not playing any games, right? They're straight up. We make you money. We know who our audience is. Is designed for customer marketing, not list management. they're just very blunt on what they choose to offer, right? Talk straight up. They have a whole paragraph I go into, but they're growing sales and revenue. Mailchimp will work fine, but their whole thing is like, hey, if you want to make money, come over here, right? Or here, come right here. So,
and we even had, partners of ours that have started with Mailchimp, but as they've grown, their needs have changed, and they've needed to pivot to Klaviyo. They've had to make that, that change over.
yeah. And then on the other side with Mailchimp, right here, these guys, I think I'm here. Their whole thing on their page that they have competing with Klaviyo, because if you do the search, they talk about, hey, we've been helping small business for 20 years, with the goal of making quality marketing tools accessible for growing companies. And you see their play, right? It's sort of like their logos. If you compare their logos, Mailchimp is a bit friendlier, more in the community. It seems like, there's a monkey on here, maybe this very, friendly, this playful, hey, anybody could sort of do it. You'll quickly go to that versus thinking you might be a little more intimidating if you look at the Klaviyo logo. It seems very analytical, very, a little like, okay, there may be a little bit more to that or a little more advanced to that. And that's sort of, whoever did a good job with the logos, that's sort of right. It sort of takes on that same personality of what you come to expect.
Right. And that's the other thing, Mailchimp actually offers you more marketing channels than Klaviyo, and more integrations overall. So again, it kind of goes back to that ease of use. If you're a business that's just getting started and you need to manage your, those lists of your contacts, which is just so important, Mailchimp is able to step in and very easily, manage that and help you take care of that. And the other thing you want to take into consideration is the pricing as well. Mailchimp, is oftentimes going to come in a bit cheaper. Klaviyo, actually, their pricing is set up on a tiered system or sliding scale. So the more subscribers that you have within your list, the higher that cost is going to be. But again, that's taken into consideration. If you're getting, tens of thousands of subscribers, you're obviously in a pretty good position.
Yeah, exactly. And if we just jump right into even talking about more benefits of Mailchimp, we can just talk about like off the ground, it's easy to get started. And I think what you just touched on right there is perfect, Noel. Just like for people that are jumping in and maybe they just haven't really, they have their business, it's running, it's doing stuff, but they really haven't taken advantage of a mailing list. Mailchimp has it's up to 2,000 contacts that are free from the ground up. So if you want to just, a little bit trial and error without having to worry about the cost right away, it's definitely the one to do. So if we take this example of like, why would I need a mailing list or why would I jump into it? We could make a whole other episode on that. But like to speak about, let's say Noel's, we're having a snowstorm. If you want to reach out to people, like, hey, storm is coming, send a notification out to your mailing list that, hey, get prepped for the storm, right? Same thing. You'd reach out to that mailing list and say, hey, we have the sale, or don't forget the items. And there's just a way to get a communication with your audience to remind them, hey, we're around if you need us for the storm, if you need to get prepped. So take advantage of the newsletter purpose and why it's there. Like we could set up a whole episode just on why you want to do that. But I digress. But getting into Mailchimp, it's just really easy to get started. The editor, I think you used it multiple times. How easy is that editor from somebody not as technically savvy? The editor is really easy to use, isn't it?
And anyone can really jump right in that editor and make the changes. They make it so easy for you to go ahead, build out your email, set up that list and set up those campaigns. And if you're then, you're worried about exporting those emails, you're actually able to segment it in several different ways, whether you're segmenting it by, new emails, specific date. So that maybe you're running a campaign between, the snowstorm, starting tomorrow and or what have you, or the holidays. You're able to capture that specific group and then make campaigns unique to them. So there's a lot of flexibility that you get with Mailchimp, and even the reporting is really easy to look at. So
yeah, really, really, really simple. It's like anybody has seen a sort of a spreadsheet or a table before. That's really as simple as it gets. There's nothing, they don't hit you over the head with too many different icons and analytical things or anything that's really confusing. It's very straightforward on what you're looking at. They don't try to clutter the space either. It's sort of like, this is what it is. If you need to reach out or filter down anything else, you go ahead and do that. But another additional thing about Mailchimp is what they've been around forever. I think you touched on this, Noel. There's so many integrations. They've been around over 20 years. There's chances are anything you work with has a native integration with Mailchimp, or they have integration for it.
Right.
So.
And even if you do have trouble with Mailchimp, once you're on that paid subscription, they do actually offer 24/7 chat, and you have that support. So you're able to reach out and get in contact.
Right. Perfect. So that, I mean, I think that's something important to keep in mind too, because sometimes we'll hand off things to clients, and where do I having that customer service available is definitely handy and something that you need to know. So cool. You want to jump over to these guys and talk about Klaviyo a little bit?
So Klaviyo, yeah. So like we were saying, comparing the two, Mailchimp, while it's got kind of that lower bar for entry, Klaviyo is really going to be a bit more advanced in terms of metrics and details and even the information that they can provide for you. So
Yeah. And again, their approaches are a little bit different, right? Mailchimp is they really want you to start with building that list and campaigns and things like that. Klaviyo takes it to a more scientific, more data, more analytical level of trying to understand the different behaviors that people take. When they integrate again with like Shopify in your e-commerce platform, they're looking at each user and trying to predict, okay, where's their behavior? Where are they dropping off? They give you that data so then you can make suggestions. Okay, we're losing people on X page, or before they add to cart, or after they browse this. So it really gets to the nitty gritty of things. But again, it may be intimidating for people that don't really have a grasp on it or don't have the time to dive into it. But it's really, really powerful if you want to use sort of the details and analytics to create segments or workflows or automations. It's very, very powerful in order to do that.
And I think you touched on something that's really great about Klaviyo is you can, like, the flows and behaviors of your user. You can really, and you can review the analytics and then set up triggers for that. One really cool thing that Klaviyo does is it actually projects it gives you a projection of the customer's lifetime value, and when they may even potentially put in a new order. So it's definitely taking advantage of all the learnings and everything you're capturing and giving you that data back, which is so valuable.
Again, and it just makes sense. It's like that's why you're in business, right? To make money. And I think they're right. When the way they're projected on that site, right? Klaviyo makes you money, not just about about building up that list, but it's like we give you ways that already sort of like suggestions, and like these are things you can do in order to get the most out of every single user. And how do you build up that sort of equity with the users? Another cool thing just off the top of my head, the syncing with Shopify thing, again, that's another thing to note here. If you are on Shopify, is within the emails you have access, it pulls in the Shopify products, right? So you can sort of like, hey Noel, I've seen you looked at, give me snow shovels. How about we suggest you through 3 other different types of snow shovels that we sell on our site, right? So it has access to the Shopify product listing and directory, so you can pull up some of those things and get really crafty with your emails as well. Mailchimp does have something similar, but it's again not as seamless as using it within Klaviyo. So, support. You want to touch on support? I think we touched on it.
So support, they give you, depending on, because Klaviyo is on a sliding scale, there actually is a free plan up to a certain amount of depending on your email list and the number of people within that list. So
really low. I think it's like 250 or something like that.
Yeah, it's much smaller than Mailchimp. We're not talking 2,000. We're talking just a few hundred. But even with that being said, they offer email support to people on the free plan, anyone who's on the free plan, and then you actually get that live chat support when you're on that paid plan.
Yeah, and so again, we said it from the top, right? And when we get to this wrap up, we'll see. Mailchimp is obviously a bit more affordable for everybody else. Klaviyo is a bit more expensive, but one of their selling points on Klaviyo, which they'll try to tell you on their marketing page as well, but it is sort of true, is that they do come with a lot of features. So whereas some people may use another platform for pop-ups like Sumo or Privy or something like that, Klaviyo has some of those things built in. So just like your pop-ups when you get to the site, the exit intent pop-ups, things like that, they come already built into Klaviyo, so you don't have to use additional software. So they do put a good amount of value into things that they have. So you do get a lot once you start paying. They come with a lot of free services that you don't necessarily need to add on.
Right, and that's the thing. Klaviyo, cost-wise, yes, it is more expensive, but all of the features that they have, when you begin to kind of add it up, the unique coupon codes, the back in stock automation, advanced pop-ups, all of those different features, you're getting a pretty great return on the investment that you're making.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably a good point to come into, okay, what is our final thoughts on both these things, right? Like we've sort of made a little bit of case for Klaviyo, we've made a little bit of case for Mailchimp. What do you think on which way we go? What's our final thoughts here on, on Mailchimp?
Yeah, I would say again, Mailchimp, they're a bit difficult to compare, even though there is always that comparison.
Right.
Because really Mailchimp is going to be that you're just getting started. You want to make sure that you're building up your email list, you're getting that together, especially when you're sending out, newsletters or having people sign up for your newsletter, sending out, campaigns. It's going to be really easy for you, especially if you don't have any type of technical background. You can jump into the editor pretty easily. It's fairly affordable, and if you're working with a smaller budget, Mailchimp is probably going to be a really good option for you to get started. Versus Klaviyo, you're not new at this point. You've got a well-established email list. You're really diving into more marketing, and you're really making use of all of the different features that you have. And there's so much reporting and analytics and information there that you get to take advantage of. And it's nice that it just syncs with Shopify. That's always a big plus.
Yeah.
If that's a platform that you're on.
No, totally. And I think that's a perfect explanation. And I just see them sort of as, again, they both work. So they're both great options, whichever way you lean and whatever you feel more comfortable to. Another way to even compare that is that maybe you want to start on Mailchimp, and then because again, depending if your company is maybe 2 to 3 people, Mailchimp may be the best way to sort of just get things. It's easy. It's really quick to do things. Very for anybody to pick up and learn it. Meanwhile, if you're on Klaviyo, you may have a specialist or somebody that's very more tech oriented that could go in and manage things. But then if you don't have that person, I would probably lean Mailchimp just because it's easier to get going. But if you do have somebody that understands a little bit of a strategy and how you want to implement those analytics, and if you even have the time to make that marketing plan, I would lean towards Klaviyo as your brand grows and you start really focusing on things. And listen, you can't grow the business that fast, but as you do, you start building things up. I think you'd want to lean Klaviyo, just because, again, they provide a bit more ways that you could increase your revenue. Mailchimp, again, easy to use, very simple, very affordable, and it's really easy to get in the door. So, again, two good options. But I mean, for me, I'd probably lean Klaviyo because I'm a little more technologically savvy. Look at me boasting. I'm very smart, people. No, I'm not. No,
But it is true. I think, and also you just got to take into consideration your business and just overall when you're picking that platform. What are your actual needs? Like what really are you looking to accomplish? If you are not going to take advantage of all of Klaviyo's features, it's probably not your option. You're probably going to want to go Mailchimp. But if you're implementing like a really robust strategy, marketing strategy, and you know exactly what you want to do, Mailchimp may not be the route for you. So it's just like your business is unique. You want to make sure that you're picking a platform that's really going to answer all the questions and help you reach the goals that you want to accomplish.
Totally. I think that was perfectly said. So if you guys have any other questions on either one of these and just need help deciding or whatever, just shoot us a note, catch us on social media, and respond back. Let us know if you thought the video was all right. If there's stuff you want to hear more about or either one, we could definitely follow up.
Yeah, we'd love to hear. If you have any more questions that you might have, there's a lot to both these platforms, and I think we kind of just scratched the surface. But wanted to just provide some information on what platform or what route you might want to go if you are considering them, especially with all of the online shopping that is happening now. So, as always, thanks Neil for jumping on for an episode.
You got
it. For tuning in. Appreciate you guys tuning into Ecommerce Disruptors. Stay tuned for our next episode. And if you haven't already, make sure to check us out at ecommercedisruptors.com.